So I never was really a huge fan of the story growing up. I just feel like somebody should have called Child Protective Services. Like, Hansel and Gretel should have called 2-for-1 kids. Like, damn. Like,
They put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists. You're stealing, right to jail. You're playing music too loud, right to jail, right away.
hey y'all, it's your girl, I'm Taylor. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here for you today with another Makeup Mythology Monday. And I always upload every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. So make sure you like this video, comment down below, share with your friends, and subscribe. More awesome stuff coming this week, more political stuff. Okay, now let's dig into the story. Hey y'all, welcome back. Second day of the week today. You know what that means? It's Makeup and Mythology Monday. So if you're new here, that's basically just a little segment every week where I take a break from reality and talk to you about one of my, like, a famous, loved mythological tale or a folk tale from somewhere around the world while doing my makeup. So that's what we're doing today. I've already color corrected and primed my face, and so this it's the only thing you have to do if you have like a lot of hyperpigmentation. But if you don't worry about this stuff then. Yeah, so we're gonna do a fun look today, and we're gonna talk about the story of Hansel and Gretel. And yeah, let's go. Okay, so Hansel and Gretel is a story that comes to us from the Brothers Grimm, who also had a version, but also Sleeping Beauty that we discussed last time on Makeup Mythology Monday. So link that above so you can watch that if you haven't seen that one before. Story is set in medieval Germany. Now, the Middle Ages are roughly 500 to 1500 Common Era, approximately. So Hansel and Gretel are two young children who live in the woods with their father and stepmother. It's pretty much, I'm going to go over, I guess, the main version that we know here in the US, or the main version at least I know. Because I know this one has been revised a lot over time, and you probably have heard some variations of this tale. I'm going to go with the version I know best. So, right, Hansel and Gretel live in the woods with their dad and their stepmother. Kind of just presume the stepmother died. I mean, not stepmother, but it is presumed that the mother died during childbirth, which is pretty common. That was a very common thing until, I believe, the late 1800s. That one would die during childbirth or after childbirth. And their dad is a woodcutter, which I think is a really funny job. But I mean, it makes sense. You need wood for everything. Okay. Even though their father was a woodcutter, that job did not pay a lot of money. And so they were constantly struggling to make ends meet. But their luck got even worse once a famine hit the land. And they were really, like, starving. All four of them, both Hansel and Gretel and their father and stepmother. They were struggling because they had no food to eat. I feel like I'm so glad I live in this time era because, like, this is supposedly said to be around the 1300s. I would be devastated, honestly, with no food. I love eating so much. It's so bad. But that's why I'm grateful to live in this time era where we have, like, almost an overabundance of food that we should be spreading more equitably. But that's a topic for another video, honestly. Okay, and then one night after supper, after the kids had gone to sleep, the father and the stepmother had a discussion where the stepmother suggests, hey, we should all go wood cutting together. Okay, we should all go together, but we abandon the children in the forest. The father is at first like protesting because he's like, no, those are my babies. I can't do that to them. But because the stepmother is evil, manipulative, she is able to convince him to go along with her plan of leaving them in the forest. Now, because Hansel and Gretel are still hungry, they are awake and they hear this whole conversation. So naturally, as they are maybe, no older than 7 years old, Gretel starts crying, which I don't blame her, girl. I would too. Like if I heard my parents talking about abandoning me, I would start crying too. But Hansel, you know, calms her down. He soothes her and he comes up with a plan. So that night he goes out and collects white stones in his pocket. So the next day when they go out to go wood cutting, they get far into the woods, and as they're walking along the way to the woods, Hansel has dropped down the white stones to make a path, right? So no one else is doing this. No one commented on that he is doing this. I got it in my mouth. Okay. So eventually, the stepmother and the dad leave them there with a picnic basket, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go get some more things, more wood, we'll be right back. And the other kids sit there, they eat the picnic, night falls, and the parents do not come back. They do not come back, and naturally, girl's a little scared. Panda's like, look, I left stone so we can follow the trail back home. So the next day, the father was happy that his kids made it back home. Stepmother was pissed. So later on that night, she locked the doors at night so no one could get out. But this time before they left, Hansel put bread in his pocket to use for later. Now, they went another excursion of family woodcutting, which I didn't know was like a thing. An attempt to desert the children one more time. Just think time's a charm, you know? So, they do some sort of, oh, we're gonna go over here and get some wood. You guys just stay right here, we'll be right back. And then, of course, nightfall comes, and they are not back. Now, this time, Hansel used breadcrumbs to leave a path, but being a child, he forgot that animals exist, and, you know, they eat bread. They eat anything they can find. So, to his dismay, his and Gretel's dismay, they're kind of stuck wandering the woods for a few days because they can't find their path because most of it's gone because the animals ate it, and then also this time the father and stepmother took them further out into the woods. You know, so I just try to make it hard for them to come back home. Okay, so after a few days, they say about 3 days of wandering in the woods, Hansel and Gretel come across this house that is made of like gingerbread and all different kinds of candies. And honestly, they think they've hit the jackpot, and they just go and start eating it. They just go and start eating that house. They just go and start eating that house. Didn't ask where that candy came from. Didn't ask if it was low carb or gluten free. Just started eating the house. Then while they're eating, they hear a old woman's voice go,
"Nibble, nibble, little mouse. Who is nibbling at my house?"
That's how the old woman sounds in my head. So anyways, they stop eating. They're like kind of scared. But the old lady's like, "Oh, you guys look so tired and so starved. Here, come here, let me get you some real food. You know, you can't just eat candy. Little kids, you can't just eat candy all the time." So they're like, you know, what's the worst it could do, you know? We've already been abandoned by our parents. We're starving. We'll get this food. We'll get some food from this lady, then just like dip out. You know, we'll just get some food from this lady and dip out. Welp. Of course, Lay's asking them like, "Oh, where'd you come from?" And they're like, "Oh, like we were their parents. We got lost." And like, "Oh, that's so unfortunate." But like, yeah, we want to go back there once we're done. "Oh, okay. But yeah, so basically, what the old lady does is that she, sneaky little bitch, she feeds them everything. She gives them lots of bread, lots of soup, lots of food, lots of milk. So now the kids have the itis. And she somehow conveniently, has 2 little beds in her house from to sleep in. So they're like, "Oh, okay, so maybe once we get up, we can go back home." But when they get up, she's like, "No, y'all can't go nowhere." She's like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna eat you guys. This is a trap. You fallen for it, suckers." I mean, that's why you don't see me where you don't know people. Like, I just, obviously, you know, the parents them failure because, like, you would not want to sleep anywhere you don't know the people. But, you know, they're kids. You know, they're kids. What can you say? They're kids, honestly. Like, poor kids. But yeah, so she's like, so y'all ain't going nowhere. Gretel, you're gonna be my slave and help me out around the house. Now she locks Hansel locked up. In some versions it's a dungeon, some versions it's a cage. But basically she has him locked up so he can't get out. And the plan is to make him food and fatten him up so that she can eat him. That's basically the plan. She lets them know that. Now, in the version I know of the story, you know, they're given, like, you know, her and Gretel don't eat a whole lot, so they can give most of the food to Hansel, because he's trying to fatten him up for slaughter, basically. And every day, well, it's weird. In these stories, like, the witch, she's a witch. In these stories, the witch never has, like, good eyesight, so she's like legally blind, so she can see their children there, but she can't see him getting fatter. So every day after he eats, she'll ask him to poke out his finger to see if he's getting any thicker, but he uses a twig, and so she just keeps trying to like go for days and days to keep fattening him up, because you know he's trying to avoid death, and I don't blame him, because this is wild. You just want to get some food, and the next thing you know, you're like hostage in some old lady's dungeon. You know, after about 30 days of the same crap, the witch is like, "Okay, forget it. I don't care anymore. It's time to eat." So we're gonna prepare food. We're gonna prepare the boil and the oven to cook Hansel up. Because I'm hungry. I'm ready for some human flesh to eat. Because apparently witches are cannibals. It's a big question I always have there too. Like, why are the witches cannibals? Like, how accurate is that? But you know what? I digress. So it's Hansel in the cage. And she has Gretel being her assistant. So the witch is like, okay, it is time for me to feast on this child. I wonder why she goes for like eating Hansel instead of Gretel. I think because she thinks maybe the boy's smarter, so he'd out trick her. Maybe is that what you think it is? Comment below why you think that she chooses to eat Hansel over Gretel. I really want to see your theories. I'm dead ass. Comment down below. Like a purple smoky eye. I think it's gonna be sexy. But anyway, so she's like, okay, Gretel, we're setting this up so I can eat him. Yummy, yum, yum, yum. And she's like, well, first I'm going to bake him to make him a little bit more tender, and then throw him in to the cauldron to stew. So apparently that's how you eat people. I wouldn't know. The witch says to Gretel, the girl, even though I feel like these names are very like gender fluid, gender neutral, both those names are. But then I don't know German, so anyway, you should probably just shut the fuck up. Anyways, she's like, Gretel, you should get in there and make sure the oven's hot enough, because this is back in the 1300s and they don't have like the little temperature thing to let you know, beep beep, oven's been preheated. Oven's been preheated. This is back in the 1300s and they do not have a little timer, nothing to tell you beep beep, oven's ready to, you know, cook stuff in. So to get the old-fashioned way by getting in that bitch, and I guess hopefully not burning yourself to death. That would be my guess. Like, hopefully not burning yourself to death. Hopefully. But, you know, naturally, Gretel's just, like, playing dumb. Because she's not really dumb, but she's playing dumb because she wants to survive. She's like, how do I do that? How do I check the temperature of the oven? I don't know how to do this. I've never used an oven before. And the witch is like, really? And the girl's like, okay, can you show me how to check it? And she's like, oh, I have to show this little girl how to do this. Like, okay, it's really simple. Even I can show you to do it. And then, you know, she shows her how to do it. And then Gretel's like, pushes her in. Yup, pushes her in. Locks that oven tight. And lets that witch burn to death. And, you know, good riddance, because, like, over here stealing children and stuff. Like, over here stealing children, trying to eat children. What's wrong with you, little witch? I don't like the witch. Child endangerment. Okay, so once she's done with that, once she's done with the witch, we got confirmation the witch is gone. She is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch, oh witch, the wicked witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. She's gone where the gods go, below, 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 below. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch, oh witch, the wicked witch. Did you know the wicked witch is dead? It's Wizard of Oz, but I mean, I just feel like it's appropriate. It's a moment of celebration, because Hansel and Gretel are now free. They are free. They are free from the oppression of the witch. So basically, my girl Gretel gets Hansel out of the cage. Witch, oh witch, the wicked witch. When since she's dead, they go through her house, and you know, they take all her stuff, because I mean, she's dead now, she don't need it. Oh gosh, that's crooked. Whatever. Okay. So they take all her jewelry, take some food to go, and they wander through the woods again, and they eventually do end up back at their house with their dad, who is there, who is so happy to see them. He's like, oh my gosh, my babies arrived back. Oh my gosh, we're never gonna let you, I'm never gonna, like, he's like, I sent your stepmother away because she was evil, obviously, and we're never gonna have her and our, like, worry about her ever again. And the kids are like, look, we have all this gold we stole from a witch. And he's like, and they're like, we'll be hungry again, yay. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. Yay. Ooh. Now, this, I believe the original story, like the original, all versions of the original do have a happy ending, but this story does have just like some really weird, grim roots. Okay, we're gonna quickly do a blending montage and then get back to like I said before, this is a Grimm's Brothers tale, and it went through, I believe, 3 or 4 versions of this story before they set on the final one in 1857. But actually, in the original version of the story, they actually have the mother being the one abandoning them in the woods, and they eventually just changed to the stepmother just because, I mean, everyone already hates stepmothers. I don't really know. I don't have a stepmother. So sorry to be like everyone hates stepmothers, but like I don't have one. So, I guess sometimes you love them, sometimes you hate them. But that was the main change that they made. And you kind of just wonder, like, why would one write a story about like this? But it was to reflect a certain part of German history. Many people believe that this story was set during the Great Famine, which hit across Europe and Asia between 1314 and 1322. And it ended up killing around 25% of the populations of, you know, various countries. Germany being one of the biggest ones that was being hit because they weren't yielding as much crops as they needed to survive. So this was a very sad time in history. I know part of the reason their grandpas want to focus on this part of history is because it was before like French overrule of Germany. So they had, so children had stories to look back to like authentic German culture before the French influence came in to Germany. Because honestly, to this day, they're still like foes. In saying that, the Great Famine was really the Great Famine. Like, this is only thing I think is really comparable is the Roman siege of Jerusalem in this in 70 AD. Like, that's the only I think famine that's somewhat comparable to this one. So in this one, the elder just voluntarily starved so the young could live. Yes, you have the older people starving so they can, like, the young people can live. I mean, it's sad. And then you have, they said people were literally like fed their own children, like mothers were eating their children. People were abandoning their children. So I guess apparently this story isn't that far off from what was happening during that time. Like, people were literally abandoning their children. As well as it would be so bad that people would actually dig up corpses in cemeteries. They would dig them up and actually eat the flesh, rotting flesh, to survive. And y'all know me, if I was there, I'm like voluntarily starving to death because like I'm really just gonna be like calling God like knock knock knocking on heaven's door. I'll be like, ring ring God, yeah, hey Father, yeah, can you eat me here now? Like, they over here eating dead bodies. I just go home now, like a little bit early. I can't handle this. I'm not made for this. I'm not built for this.
Oh, earth is ghetto. I wanna leave. Oh, earth is ghetto. I wanna leave.
Thank you. Bye. Like, I can't imagine eating people. I can't imagine. There's just so much I really can't imagine at all with this stuff. Like, I'm like, how can you do any of this? It's so unconscionable. I'd rather just die, honestly. One, it's just thought of. Two, it just sounds like a lot of work as well. Like, I'm just not doing any of this. Sit down. But I get why this never really picked up as it's never picked up as like a children's story, just because like I don't really know what children would appeal to. There are a lot more like horror movie adaptations of this story because I mean, obviously, like I feel like witches and being set up in the woods is just like grade A horror movie like material. Like, that's what all good horror movies are made of. Just scary elements. And there was a recent one that came out last year. I didn't get to see it yet, but hopefully I'll get to. It's one of the on-demands I pay for. Get to watch it. This is me being extra anal about my lashes because I want them to stick on. These are the Wifey lashes from Moxie Lash. I love Moxie Lash so much. Okay. I'm gonna do my hair and get dressed, and now we're gonna wrap up, okay? Okay, so the moral of Hansel and Gretel. I looked it up, and it said, don't trust strangers, as well as also, don't disobey your parents, which I'm just like, why would, the parents are bad in this. Like, the parents abandoned them. The parents suck. Like, why would we be listening to the parents in this? I feel that's relevant, but I definitely, as a kid, I understood it. Stranger danger. Got it. Do not let any old woman lure you into their house and give you the itis. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. Pretty straightforward. Like, there's not much, I think, below that. Like, a theme of evil. So you have the theme, like, evil, because, I mean, it's pretty evil to abandon your children, and also to try to eat children. So, like, the father, stepmother, and the witch are adults who use evil to survive, but it's the children, Hansel and Gretel, who are able to overcome it, which I think maybe some, like, kind of subliminal messaging about, like, the innocence of childhood, or, like, the power of youth, or, like, the power of, like, childhood innocence. I think that's kind of what I interpreted as a little bit, as well as you know, having the stepmother abandon the kids, as well as, like, the witch and the forest trying to eat them, kind of trying to somewhat connect those two evil feminine characters. And then kind of giving the dad, like, really no voice. Like, the dad didn't really do much in the story, when he really should have tried to, like, save his kids, because bro, those are your kids. But I digress. So what do you guys think of Hansel and Gretel? Do you guys enjoy the story? I feel like it just is better as a horror movie. Like, I feel like that a horror movie that came out, I need to go see it because it looks like it's going to be super fun. Or do you think this one should be more popular? Because it's kind of a B-list fairy tale. It's not as popular as some of the other ones, but what can you do? But yeah, make sure to leave your comments down below. And again, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm making videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Subscribe for more awesome fun stuff. Bye!